a Florida stripper is suing over the age requirement that's meant to curb human trafficking. Check it out.
And right now to the fallout from one of the nearly 200 new Florida laws now in effect.
A stripper in Gainesville is now suing the Attorney General and others over a measure she claims violates her constitutional rights. Local 10's Calvin Hughes is joining us live in the newsroom with more on the bill meant to combat human trafficking.
Well, the new state law is meant to protect young people against human traffickers, as you just mentioned, and Governor Ron DeSantis signed it earlier this year, but a new lawsuit says the mandate goes too far, stepping on adult entertainment workers' First Amendment rights.
19-year-old Serenity Michelle Bushy worked at Cafe Risque outside Jacksonville up until this month. In a more than 80-page lawsuit, she claims a new law raising the age requirement for her profession lost her her job and is now violating her First Amendment right to express herself. She writes that at least 8 others and the performers at Cafe Risque lost their jobs because of the new law, too. That's in addition to cooks, waitresses, barbacks, DJs, and security personnel that can't work at the establishments. Cafe Risque, a Jacksonville strip club, and a Jacksonville area lingerie store are also joining in the lawsuit filed against the Attorney General, saying that the law is broad and the legislature didn't consider a less restrictive regulation. They write, the law unreasonably burdens speech without measurably advancing any significant governmental interest.
Question. Here's my question to y'all. All right. Do y'all think that it's logical for a 19-year-old to be working inside of a strip club? Just a question. Again, let me ask one more time for the people in the back that's just waking up, getting the snot out of their eyes. Do y'all think it's logical for a 19-year-old to be working inside of a strip club? As we look at this, as we evaluate this, because I know a lot of y'all are for free speech and all of this stuff, right? Should strippers be at the very least 21 years old, or anybody that's working inside of the strip club? You can't go inside of a casino unless you're 21 years old and work there and get a job. Just wondering.
Adding, plaintiffs have a right to associate with adults of their own choosing, including the right to employ and contract with those adults. The legislature intended the law to curb human trafficking. They claim performers are subjected to engage in sex trade and even trafficking.
I see a lot of differences. Some people saying yes, some people saying no. Interesting.
Customers, managers, owners, and workers at establishments. The legislature says restricting the employment for performers under 21, quote, furthers an important state interest of protecting those vulnerable individuals from sex trafficking, drug abuse, and other harm.
Well, and that's the thing, though. Is that I see a lot of people saying, well, if they can go to war, then they can strip. Shout out to Connie Harris. But here's the problem, though. Do we allow for people to be able to do what they want at the expense of the people that we're trying to protect? You see what I'm saying? If the objective of the law is to try to prevent people from getting caught up in the lifestyle and human trafficking, do we make the exception because I don't even know if I'm using the right words here. Do we allow for it to go on because we don't want it to violate any of our human rights, or do we protect the least vulnerable amongst us? That's the question that I'm asking. Just a question.
And state lawmakers say that the bill's language will hold up in court against the most recent lawsuit. The city of Jacksonville already has an ordinance that requires entertainers to be 21 years of age, but that case is being challenged in federal court. I'll send it back.
Somebody said young but old enough to pay taxes, so let her shake that monkey. You got to pay taxes if you're 16 years old and you're working at McDonald's. Taxes is going to come out of your check regardless. The taxes argument is a moot point. I don't care how old you are. The taxes is always going to come out of your paycheck no matter what. Chris James says protecting your country is honorable and it comes with benefits. Stripping does not. I don't know. I think it's something that's debatable that we can have a conversation about. But that's just quick hits. In addition to that, it was a man that was executed over a parking space in Atlanta, and now he's doing life in prison. Dumb decisions.
A murder at Lenox Square is now solved. Today, a judge sentenced the man responsible to life without parole. It's more time than the prosecution requested. The murder happened in 2020, and it was all over a parking spot. New at 6, Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie is live inside the Fulton County Courthouse. And Mark, the judge called this an execution.
Yeah, a prosecutor here at the Fulton County District Attorney's Office says he used a big diagram of the Lenox Square parking lot along with mall surveillance video and much more to explain to the jury what happened. He says the incident ended in the parking lot with a murder, but it started there too with what should have been a minor dispute over a parking spot.
On the count of murder, I'm going to sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. This case is particularly disturbing. It was described by witnesses to the murder as an execution. It was pure evil.
Do you know that they call me a square because I'm willing to walk away from a confrontation instead of standing on business? I don't have to worry about getting killed in a parking lot from some weirdo that feel like he got to stand on business, and I get to go home to my family. I don't have to worry about somebody jumping out of control and then you got to kill a dude in self-defense because we was arguing over a parking spot. I don't want your respect that much. What started off as an argument for a parking spot, and I see people getting into confrontations all the time. They get into road rage incidents. People be arguing in traffic. You don't know who got the ooh-op shebang. People be arguing over a stupid parking spot. Now you got to do life in prison, and you ain't never, ever coming home, ever in your life. You ain't never coming home because you wanted to stand on business, which turned into an execution in a parking lot. And now you sitting before a judge, Alice Benton is saying that you ain't never coming home, you ain't gonna never see your family. The only thing that you can do is go and kick it with my man Fleece Johnson over there in prison. Crazy, bro. Why we can't control ourselves? Why have we become so emotional to where we willing to die over stuff that's not even relevant? Listen, I get it if you're willing to put your life on the line for your family, you're willing to put your life on the line for your country, you're willing to put your life on the line in order to protect the less vulnerable, you're willing to put your life on the line in order to ensure that, like, it's certain things that I get it. Okay, we should be willing to die for. But ego, really, it ain't even a parking spot. It's ego, it's toughness, it's I gotta show that I'm better than you. When you get older, you become wiser and you just no longer up for the BS, bro.
With a gun pointed to the back of that victim's head when you pulled the trigger and killed a man, leaving his family and his child with no father.
The law, a Lenox Square parking lot, and a life lost.
On March 8, 2020, defendant Ricky Lafarge shot and killed Twan Nguyen in the back of the head in the parking lot of Lenox Mall, all over a dispute over a parking spot.
Chief Senior Assistant Fulton County DA John Whitenauer says he recommended life, but because of his age at the time of the murder, 19, and his lack of an adult criminal record, with the possibility of parole, plus 5 years for Ricky Lafarge. But Judge Alice Benton exceeded that, ordering life without parole.
Like it even matter at this point. You done, bro.
Plus 5.
Someone lost their life over a parking space.
Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis.
Okay. Soon as I seen her, I didn't know she was going to pop up on the screen. We just going to go to the next story. That's unfortunate. I don't want to hear about Fonnie Willis. And then last but not least, you know that all of these different cities and these counties and the states are releasing their budgets. Don't nobody want to talk about Fonnie Willis. We don't want to see her. All of these places are releasing their budgets, and we talked about the budget over there in Chicago, Illinois. We talked about the budgets in Oakland. We talked about the budgets in California. But New York City has recently released their budget. And you know what's within the budget? $2 billion for affordable housing. Check it out.
Craig, good morning to you. That $2 billion is a little slice of the $112 billion city budget for the next 2 years. That little slice is a big win for affordable housing in this city and how safe people feel in their homes, all according to the mayor. Mayor Adams previously said making our city more livable starts with making sure New Yorkers can afford to have a roof over their head and feel safe in their own home. City Hall is restoring the $7 million for the unarmed security guard program in 55 NYCHA buildings, which is included in this $2 billion housing bump for the next 2 years.
We needed that money. We need security.
The Adams administration has a goal of building 500,000 new homes by 2032, but will immediately focus on homeless youth needs and food pantries across the 5 boroughs, as
I wonder how many of those homes is going to be for migrants.
well as investment in neighborhood pillars and Open Door. Those are housing prevention and development programs for housing rehabs and shared equity co-ops.
The budget continues our support for the Shelter to Housing Plan, funds housing assistance for homeless youth so they have access to safe and permanent housing, and protects 700 food pantries across the city.
The mayor initially sought a housing bump of $3 billion, but the city council argued the mayor was being too conservative in projecting future revenue. But the mayor still considers this $2 billion a win for the city. Later this morning around 9:30, he'll be in Brooklyn to celebrate this win, and hopefully we'll learn more about how many programs will get millions of dollars over the next.
I agree. $112 billion in revenue. I got 2 problems with this, right? My first problem is a city that is generating that amount of revenue is disgusting to me, because I don't care how many residents is in a city. I think that the goal of legislators should, for A, to be to serve the public, to do everything that's in the best interest of the public, not to try to get reelected. That's number one. And then number 2, I think that they should be trying to reduce costs and taxes. I don't know why that is not an objective of public servants, to try to reduce the burden on people so that they can start to use their money towards things that's more fiscally responsible for their families and their lifestyle. When you have more money to do what you want to do, that is the thing that spurs investment. That's the thing that spurs innovation. It spurs spending. You have more money rotating, and then it's going to come back in taxes anyway through you going and purchasing a car, or you going and purchasing a house, and then you paying property. Like, it's all going to come back to you. So you need to get more money out to the people so that you can rotate it, and then the people will be able to do the things that's more conducive to their lifestyle and their family, which ultimately, goes back into you actually making more money and generating more revenue while also keeping more money in circulation. I don't know why we think that being overtaxed makes sense. To have $100 billion plus budget, it just, for a city, it seems insane to me, bro. It, honest to God, feels insane to me. We should be trying to figure out what is the minimal amount for us to be able to make sure that we have a slush fund just in case everything goes bad. Reduce the burden, because cities should not even have a credit. Why do cities have credit like people in order for the banks to make money? Right? That's dumb. So they so worried about their credit rating. And then on top of that, we should try to reduce the amount of monies that's coming out of people's pocket in taxes. So we should have great infrastructure, minimal amount of taxes that you need in order to be able to run a city. We should not be basically using a city as a place to continue to try to employ as many people as possible. We should minimize the amount of money that we spend in order to have the city running. If it's not infrastructure, basic things, water, roads, stuff like that, then it should be cut out. It should just 100% be cut out. Police, safety, fire, and infrastructure. All of this other stuff, they need to go through with a fine-tooth comb and just throw it away. We need to make sure that we have the permitting offices, but that generate revenue in itself. So that shouldn't even be a part of the taxes, because when people pull permits or when people do safety or safety inspections, all of that has to be paid for by the developer. But all the rest of this stuff, city services and buildings and all of this stuff, man, if you're not maintaining sewer, trash, firefighters, police, and infrastructure, everything else needs to be thrown out, bro. Everything else need to be thrown out. And then they should lower taxes as possible, as low as possible, which would spur investment, and it will also spur business owners to continue to invest inside of the city, and they would have more money to do the things that they want to do. I don't know why this is so difficult to figure out, bro. Why is this hard? But we keep on inflating and inflating and inflating and inflating, and then it just goes. I don't know. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's your quick hits.